Hello and welcome to Me Whoosh Guitar School. Today we are going to talk about electric strings and acoustic strings. Can you put acoustic strings on an electric or electric strings on an acoustic? The answer is yes, with a but. This here is my old mini Strat. And at the moment, like I keep taking it apart and putting it back together with different parts. These are the 11 gauge black coated strings that I had on this guitar. So first off, if you're going to put acoustic strings on an electric, nylon strings, obviously you're out. You can't use those because the pickups won't work at all. But most acoustic strings have a steel core, which is ferromagnetic. It'll work with the pickups. It's going to sound different, but of course it's going to sound different. I mean, you have to know that going in. No matter what, if you put different strings on a guitar, you're going to get a very, very slightly different sort of sound to them. Just in one manufacturer alone, you're going to get more warm tones with a certain type of string and brighter tones with a different type of, with the different materials that they use. The major difference with acoustic strings is the G string is wound. So this string, you can hear that, the windings that are on it, that gives it a bigger diameter. And one of the problems you're going to have is that on an electric guitar, the nut is not cut for such a large G string. It'll be cut for a much smaller one. So the string is going to bind into this gap. And when you're tuning it, you're going to hear that ting, ting, ting as the string tightens and pulls its way through there. That's a sound you get. That's a nut binding sound. So that's going to be an issue. Obviously, the different gauge, anytime you change gauge of strings, like if you go from 9s up to 10s or 11s, you have to change the intonation and the bridge. And with an electric, that's easy to do. You can change the intonation all you want. So no major problem there, but oh yeah, and you'll have to change the neck relief because the string tension will be different between different gauges of strings, and certainly with the different types. Now, going the other way, if you put electric strings on an acoustic, these strings were on this guitar. I did that because I wanted to get a different sort of feel out of it. One of the problems with acoustic strings is bending notes. You got to go way across the fretboard to get a full step bend out of acoustic strings. But electric strings, the strings bend much easier. Now, I wanted to get sort of that electric hollow body feel. Didn't have a hollow body at the time, so I thought I'd just try it out. And what I found was with the lighter strings on it, they weigh less. There's less mass, and it makes them less effective at moving the soundboard, which is how you get your sound out of a guitar. So with less movement of the soundboard, less impact by the lighter strings, I get a quieter and thinner sort of sound. Also, with the unwound G string, it has a smaller diameter than this nut was cut for, so I was actually getting buzzing a lot on the G string, and the only thing I can attribute it to is the nut slot, because I don't get any buzzing at all with these strings on this guitar. So these are your sort of standard D'Addario phosphor bronze 12 to 52s, I think, and they are what this guitar was designed for, and the intonation is physically set up for that. So if you go to electric strings, or I mean in any way, if you change the string gauge on an acoustic, you're going to impact the intonation, and you can't adjust the intonation. It's fixed. So you're going to have possibly some tuning issues, and it's just not going to sound as good. So the acoustic really is built a specific way with specific strings in mind, unless you had like a floating bridge and trapeze style. They made them like that too. And certainly the hollow bodies are built like that. With these strings on, though, I get a much fuller, much richer sound with this guitar. I'm much more satisfied with it. It's already a very thin body, and with the thinner strings, it just made a very far off in the distance kind of guitar sound. It just didn't sound good. But I mean, these are much richer. Just beautiful strings. I like them. If I dollars, I'd be rich. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.